Hey guys, it's Malthor here once again, and in beta of Fall of Oriath, I made a Inquisitor based around Blade Vortex and full Fizz to Elemental conversion. Now, I recommended that as a starter build, and it was a pretty good build, I think, yet I did not actually try and fully test it myself on live servers. This here is the actual final making of that character. I've been meaning to make it pretty much all League, but I've always come up with something just a little bit different for an Inquisitor that I wanted to do, yet now I'm finally around to Blade Vortex. And it's not pure Blade Vortex though. Thanks to the Tempest Binding and the mere idea of having two different 6-links, we now incorporate Ethereal Knives as our clear skill to supplement the Blade Vortex, which can be a clear skill. It still is really good at that if that's what you want to do with it, but it is our pure single target in this build. In the past, some area changes and changes to Blade Vortex have made it a little worse as a clear skill, especially just because it doesn't get as much coverage as it used to. So now running a Ethereal Knives as a separate sort of 4-link or pseudo 6-link feels really good for the build, and then you have the dedicated 6-link to Blade Vortex, which is still probably one of the hardest hitting and best single target skills in the game, which helps us then kill anything that's tough and is not capable of being quickly cleared with the Ethereal Knives. The Ethereal Knives is basically built with the Nova Gem, and specifically for clear speed. It has Chain over here in the 4-link, as well as just the Ice Bite and Innovate from the Tempest Binding, and then some Spell Echo action and a Fizz to Lightning so we can have our 100% conversion. Since we do not need to do any single target with this Ethereal Knives, it can have Chain without feeling bad going against any sort of harder single targets. And on top of that, when you actually want to do some serious business damage, you can chuck the Chain and put in slower proj so that your EK does quite a lot of damage, wind up your 20 stacks of Blade Vortex and charge at a boss while then throwing out Ethereal Knives as well. You'll still have 20 stacks of Blade Vortex for a few seconds, and you'll be able to attack with Ethereal Knives too. Overall, it should be an absolutely massive single target in the end game. Not that I've actually hit there yet, it's just a theory, but at this stage the character is something like level 87, and we've done most things up to tier 13, 14 very smoothly, very effectively. I do think in the tier 16 sense it should be a pretty good character, incorporating both these skills rather than just having a pure Blade Vortex. However, as I mentioned, if you just like Blade Vortex, you don't have to go the sort of pseudo 6-link for Ethereal Knives. You can play pure Blade Vortex, and it is a really strong single target for the end game all by itself. You just have to probably swap out the area for Conk Effect Gem whenever you come into play or into contact with a actual heavy single target boss. Overall, I really do enjoy these additional Tempest Binding and, well, just theory around having a separate clear skill and a separate single target skill. It makes your gameplay a lot smoother and not really have to ever have the nuisance of changing, in your best case scenario, one gem for, let's say, a GMP to a slow proj or an area to a conk effect. So it really does make the convenience of your playstyle a lot higher, I think, and it seems to be worth it if you can find the right skill for the area and the right skill for the single target. So I'd like to go over the character as it is at the moment and basically what I've done to get this far. It is still following the same principles of the Inquisitor Blade Vortex starter character. Basically the only difference is we're incorporating less gems for other things and a dedicated 4-link for the Ethereal Knives for the clear skill. Currently the character is level 87, Inquisitor, old man in game, old man IRL. My birthday on the weekend, or Friday, turned 29, I'm old. So basically, you can see the character. There really isn't anything too different from the actual original beta video I made and outline of the character. It's still a pretty stock standard Inquisitor, based around spell crit, shield charge, all that sort of stuff, and with full conversion, and we're fully elemental. So it's 50% physical to cold being converted here, and then we're using a Fizz to Lightning over here for our physical to go to lightning on the Blade Vortex, and then a Fizz to Lightning on the EK. So overall, both of them are about a 50-50 split on, about a 50-50 split on lightning and cold, and lightning and cold. Currently also running Herald of Ice just for the additional shatters and explosions and all that, and our sustain largely comes from Warlord's Mark Blasphemy, as well as some Atziri Flask action and a bit of Leech and Mana Leech on the boots. If you really need a lot more sustain, you're gonna have to go something like a Vinctars, or maybe even the Incandescent Heart, which I originally suggested. If you get a 6-link of that, you get a lot more chaos damage, and then Atziri's is even better. For now though, this has been serving me just fine. Made a few little passive tree adjustments, and I'll show those to you or link those to you in the current build of the Path of Building, but it really isn't very different from the original build. So the idea is you are running the Tempest Binding to have Ice Bite and Innovate attached to your Ethereal Knives. So it gives you Frenzy Charges, it gives you a nice little lightning buff for your Blade Vortex as well. You then got Spell Echo, Chain, and Fizz to Lightning. Chain seemed to be the best choice for the additional clear for me. You can run something like Pierce, maybe Faster Proj, and this Pierce thing over here. Overall, I've felt like Chain has been the best for me, and I've liked it the most, but play around with your own different setup, and maybe you can come up with something else. And if you don't have a Tempest Binding and you're planning ahead for future leagues, I have actually looked into it, and you can run different helms. So Essence of Hysteria, I think, and Essence of Horror, maybe, have these two other Helm Enchant mods. You can either get Socketed Gems gain 50% of Fizz as extra lightning, or a Socketed Gems deals 30% more elemental damage. Both of those are currently bigger DPS upgrades, as you can see here, than the Tempest Binding. And it's something you can do when you won't have the option to get the Harbinger helmets, maybe in the 2-week races or maybe in the next league, if Harbingers aren't really a thing anymore. Don't currently know, but at the moment, Tempest Binding is really nice. If for nothing else, it gives you Frenzy Charges, which increases your clear speed a little bit at the moment. But you can see it's by no means necessary, and I may even drop it in favor of a Helm Enchant and then craft around that with a different essence. But for now, we'll just see how we go with the Tempest Binding. Overall, EK provides something like 150, 160k clear or damage for our overall clear speed, and then Blade Vortex over here is currently at 830k, and that is against a Shaper level of boss or monster. There's not really much difference as an Inquisitor between non-Shaper and all that, because if you got high crit, you're penetrating almost always, so the damage difference is barely anything anyway, so you may as well look at the Shaper damage for this type of thing. Overall, that's really all there is to say, I'd say. We're running the Ring of Blades jewel for Nova EK, as you can see here. I happened to get lucky crafting this, bought it as a 3-prop, exalted it, and it's basically an absolutely insane jewel. What you're looking for is spell damage, fizz damage, crit multi, attack and cast speed. That's all good stuff. And otherwise, yeah, try and get an Opal Ring as well with a Hysteria Essence. This is the best I could do on such short notice, and it's okay. But that is the highest DPS you can get from a ring slot, some Opal with a Hysteria Essence. Otherwise, just a nice diamond ring with some cast speed is pretty damn good too. And currently I'm running a 6-link Carcass Jack, though, like I said, Incandescent Heart might be a better option. It's a bit hard to balance the Chaos Resist after that. I happen to have a 6-link Carcass Jack already, so I'm running with that. But there are probably plenty of chest choices you can go with, since the only thing we really get out of it is a bit of area damage. The area to skills barely matters because we are dedicated Blade Vortex single target, so it doesn't really matter if you don't have a lot of area, because you're only going to be single targeting with it anyway. The current links for Blade Vortex are Blade Vortex, Fizz to Lightning, Spell Echo, Conk Effect, Controlled Destruction, and Crit Strikes is my 6th, but obviously Ellie Focus will be a lot more damage in the endgame bosses. Right now, however, we do Shock and Freeze with no Ellie Focus against the lower targets, and I'm going to see if that happens at the end game as well. If it does, then we'll probably keep Crit Strikes, otherwise Ellie Focus is going to take its place and do a lot more damage. We currently get our power charges from Orb of Storms with the power charge on crit setup, as well as Arcane Surge, so a lot of the time just pressing Arcane Surge and, Orb of Storms to get Arcane Surge up. It's kind of tricky at the moment because Val Clarity is needed to fully maintain your Blade Vortex if you don't leech anything, which you will only do if you hit something. When you hit something, your mana is really well sustained. Otherwise, you can only get to 20 stacks. And if you press Vile Clarity, you can't activate Orb of Storm's Arcane Surge anymore. So you have to be tricky about it. Before you go into a boss fight, you wind it up 20 times, you then press your Orb of Storms, you then press your Vile Clarity, and then charge in, because that'll be as long as you get there until the Vile Clarity disappears. If you want max damage, that's the kind of shenanigans you have to do, and it does end up being a bit of a clusterfuck in the end to play with, because yes, you don't have to swap around gems or anything for single target, but you wind up your 20 stacks, you drop your Arcane Surge, you press your Vile Clarity, you 1, 2, 3, 4, you charge in, you EK, you then maintain more stacks, you then press your Orb of Storms again. Overall, you need a pretty StarCraft level of APM to play this guy, and it feels pretty good overall. For now though, guys, that's about it. I will probably have another video about this one soon when we tackle Guardians and all that, just to see how he's going against that. Though, for now, thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time.